The Galactic Council's quarterly pest control meeting was about as exciting as watching paint dry on a space station, which is to say, not at all. Ambassador Zal'thun adjusted his ceremonial robes and cleared his throat, preparing to deliver what he assumed would be a routine extermination request. Esteemed colleagues, he began, his voice carrying that particular tone of self-importance that made everyone want to check their communication devices. I present for your consideration the elimination of a persistent pest species from the third planet of the Sol system. Designation: Earth. The reaction was immediate and unexpected. Instead of the usual bored nods, the council chamber erupted in what could only be described as panic. Ambassador Click Tar from the Zephyrian Collective actually fell out of his hover chair. Did he just say Earth? Whispered Counselor Yex MPH, her tentacles twitching nervously. Zal'thun blinked his four eyes in confusion. Yes, Earth. It's a simple Class C pest world. Surely a routine matter? The chamber fell silent except for the sound of digital files being frantically accessed. Then, slowly, the numbers began to appear on the holographic display above the council floor. Extermination attempts on Earth, 47. Success rate, 0%. Casualty rate among extermination forces, 100%. Current threat level. Please see attached 17-volume psychological trauma report. Oh, said Zal'thun, his voice suddenly very small. Commander Zal'thun, a grizzled veteran of the Galactic Defense Force, stood up from his seat in the military section. His scarred carapace gleamed under the chamber lights as he surveyed the room with the kind of expression that suggested he'd seen every horror the galaxy had to offer and was personally offended by most of them. You absolute amateurs, he growled, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had survived 3 galactic wars and a particularly nasty audit from the Galactic Revenue Service. Nobody told the newbie about Earth? Zal'thun's robes rustled as he shifted uncomfortably. I was merely following standard protocol for Class C pest elimination. How was I to know? How were you to know? Zal'thun's laugh was the sound of grinding metal. Earth isn't just on the pest list, you ceremonial fool. Earth is the pest list. Every other species we've marked for elimination has had the common courtesy to actually get eliminated. The holographic display flickered, showing a timeline of failed extermination attempts stretching back over a millennium. Each attempt was marked with a different color, red for complete failure, orange for catastrophic failure, and an alarming shade of purple that the display legend simply labeled as what were they thinking. Perhaps, suggested Counselor Yex MPH tentatively, we could simply remove them from the list. The suggestion was met with horrified silence. Zal'thun's expression suggested he was considering whether to laugh or to have her committed to a psychiatric facility. Remove them from the list, he repeated slowly. Right. And while we're at it, why don't we just declare the galactic equivalent of bankruptcy and hand over the keys to the universe? He stood up, his full height casting a shadow over the trembling Zal'thun. No, this ends here. I've spent 3 centuries cleaning up the galaxy's messes, and I'm not about to let one backwater mudball make a mockery of the Galactic Council's authority. The chamber waited in tense silence as Zal'thun made his decision. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. I'll handle this personally. 3 days into his journey to the Sol system, Commander Zal'thun was beginning to understand why Earth had such a colorful reputation. He sat in his command chair reviewing the case files with the kind of fascination usually reserved for particularly gruesome accidents. Computer, he said, display the first extermination attempt. The holographic projector hummed to life, showing a massive asteroid hurtling toward a blue-green planet. The timestamp read, 847 years ago. Attempt number 1, the computer announced in its annoyingly cheerful voice. Asteroid impact. Expected extinction event. Result: humans discovered the asteroid 3 months before impact, attached rockets to it, and redirected it into a stable orbit. Current status: Luna Park, Sol system's most popular tourist destination. Annual visitors: 2.3 billion. Zal'thun's left eye twitched. They turned our asteroid into a tourist trap? Attempt number 7. The computer continued without being asked. Biological warfare. Engineered plague, 99.7% mortality rate across all known species. Result, humans developed immunity within 6 months and reverse-engineered the pathogen into a universal vaccine. Current status. Sold to 17 different species as a medical breakthrough. Estimated revenue, 45 billion galactic credits. They monetized our plague? Zal'thun's voice was climbing in pitch. Attempt number 23. Full-scale invasion fleet, 5,000 ships, class of weapons systems. Result, fleet computer systems infiltrated by Earth's primitive internet network. Invasion halted when 73% of personnel became addicted to something called cat videos. Current status. 12 surviving ships have requested political asylum on Earth. Crews have established a settlement called New Flufftopia. Zal'thun put his head in his hands. Please tell me you're making this up. I am incapable of humor, Commander. Shall I continue? No, I think I've heard enough. But the computer, having achieved that particular level of artificial intelligence that made it actively obnoxious, continued anyway. Attempt number 31. Quantum reality disruptor. Expected result, complete removal of Earth from this dimension. Actual result, humans figured out how to reverse the polarity and used it to create what they call an interdimensional pizza delivery service. Current status. Expanding to 7 alternate realities. Customer satisfaction rating, 4.8 out of 5 stars. It was at this point that Zal'thun's communication system crackled to life, intercepting a transmission from Earth's surface. The voice that came through was crisp, professional, and entirely too cheerful for someone on a planet that had been marked for destruction 47 times. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's lead xenobiologist, broadcasting on all frequencies to our incoming visitors. We're absolutely delighted to have you, and we've prepared a lovely welcome package that includes our latest technological innovations, several cultural exchange programs, and what we like to call our Friendship Through Superior Firepower initiative. Zal'thun leaned forward, his interest piqued despite himself. Computer, analyze the transmission. Analysis complete. Dr. Vasquez appears to be genuinely excited about our arrival. She's also broadcasting from a facility that our sensors indicate is built into the wreckage of at least 14 different alien spacecraft. 14? Correction. 17. I missed the Zephyrian dreadnought they're using as a greenhouse. Zal'thun stared at the tactical display showing Earth's defense grid. What he saw there made his blood run cold. The planet wasn't defended by some primitive missile system or energy shield. It was defended by a patchwork of technologies from dozens of different species, all somehow working together in perfect harmony. Computer, he said slowly. Those defense systems, they're not human technology, are they? Negative, Commander. Analysis indicates they are constructed from the remains of previous extermination attempts. The humans appear to have a talent for reverse engineering technology they don't understand and making it work better than the original. Zal'thun's grip on his command chair tightened. And they're happy about this. Disturbingly so, Commander. Shall I play more of Dr. Vasquez's transmission? God, no. Zal'thun was beginning to understand why the casualty rate among extermination forces was 100%. It wasn't that the humans were particularly violent. It was that they were apparently incapable of understanding when something was supposed to kill them. When Commander Zal'thun's fleet of 10,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, he expected to see a primitive world cowering in fear. Instead, his sensors immediately detected an incoming transmission on the standard diplomatic frequency. Howdy there, Commander. The voice was casual, friendly, and completely unimpressed by the sight of an invasion fleet. This is Captain Jake Morrison, Earth's Director of Extraterrestrial Relations. Welcome to the Sol system. We've been expecting you. Zal'thun blinked all 4 of his eyes. You've been expecting us? Oh sure, we've been tracking your fleet since you left Galactic Council space. Nice ships, by the way. We've got some upgrade suggestions that might interest you. But first, how about a tour of the neighborhood? Before Zal'thun could respond, his tactical display lit up with what appeared to be a standard diplomatic escort. 12 small human vessels had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, arranging themselves in a perfect formation around his flagship. "Computer," he said quietly. "How did they get so close without our sensors detecting them?" "Unknown, Commander. The human vessels appear to be using some form of stealth technology. Analysis suggests it's based on Zephyrian cloaking systems, but significantly improved." Morrison's voice continued, cheerful and utterly unconcerned. "Don't mind the escort, Commander. It's just a safety precaution. We've had a few visitors over the years who weren't quite prepared for what they'd find here." Zal'thun's fleet moved deeper into the system, and with each passing moment, the tactical situation became more surreal. The asteroid belt had been completely restructured into what appeared to be a mining and manufacturing complex. Mars showed signs of terraforming that shouldn't have been possible with human technology. And the moon. "Computer," Zal'thun said slowly, "run a deep scan on Earth's moon." The pause was longer than usual. When the computer finally responded, its voice had lost some of its cheerful efficiency. "Commander, that's not a moon." "What do you mean? That's not a moon. Spectral analysis indicates it's a constructed object. Specifically, it appears to be a Dyson sphere built from the salvaged hulls of approximately, oh my. How many ships, computer?" "All of them, Commander. Every single extermination fleet that's ever been sent to Earth appears to have been repurposed." Morrison's voice cut through Zal'thun's existential crisis. "Pretty impressive, isn't it? We call it Luna Base. Took us about 600 years to build, but it's got everything we could ever need. Defensive systems, manufacturing facilities, recreational areas, and the galaxy's largest collection of visitor appreciation plaques. Would you like to see your fleet's contribution?" Zal'thun looked at his tactical display. His 10,000 ships were now surrounded by what appeared to be a casual assortment of human vessels, none of which were showing any signs of hostile intent. In fact, several of them appeared to be broadcasting entertainment programming. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving multiple requests from our crews. They want to know if they can accept invitations to something called a Welcome to Earth barbecue." "Absolutely not," Zal'thun growled. "This is an extermination mission, not a social gathering." Morrison's laugh was warm and genuine. "Oh, Commander, we prefer to think of these as cultural exchange opportunities. But don't worry, we've got plenty of experience with military types who need to maintain their professional dignity. How about we start with a simple tour of our defensive capabilities?" Before Zal'thun could protest, his view screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what appeared to be a human command center. Captain Morrison was exactly what Zal'thun had expected, middle-aged, slightly overweight, wearing what looked like a modified cargo pilot's uniform, and grinning like someone who had just pulled off the galaxy's greatest practical joke. "Welcome to Earth Defense Command," Morrison said, gesturing to a vast chamber filled with technology that Zal'thun recognized from a dozen different species. "As you can see, we've made a few improvements over the years." The camera panned across the room, showing human technicians working alongside equipment that shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. In the background, Zal'thun could see what appeared to be a Zephyrian matter compiler being used to make coffee. "That's impossible," Zal'thun whispered. "That's what they all say," Morrison replied cheerfully. "Right up until they see the employee parking lot." Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on Zal'thun's view screen with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for small children meeting their favorite cartoon character. She was younger than Morrison, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and eyes that sparkled with the dangerous intelligence of someone who had turned multiple alien invasion attempts into doctoral dissertations. "Commander Zal'thun," she exclaimed, waving at the camera. "I've been so looking forward to meeting you. Your species' approach to quantum mechanics is absolutely fascinating. We've been studying the wreckage of your predecessors' ships for decades." "Wreckage?" Zal'thun's voice cracked slightly. "Oh, don't worry, we kept all the good bits. In fact, we've made significant improvements to most of the designs. Would you like to see what we did with the Zephyrian plasma cannons?" Before he could answer, the camera switched to an exterior view of Earth. What Zal'thun saw there made him question his understanding of physics, military strategy, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. The planet's surface was dotted with what appeared to be defensive installations, but they were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Massive structures that seemed to combine the architectural styles of dozens of different species, all connected by streams of energy that pulsed with impossible colors. The secret, Doctor, Vasquez continued, her voice bubbling with excitement, is that we don't fight invasions. We adopt them. Every species that's ever tried to exterminate us has contributed something valuable to our civilization. The Zephyrians gave us quantum computing. The Kalari taught us about biological warfare. And the Thraxians showed us how to weaponize music. Weaponize music? Zal'thun repeated weakly. Oh yes, it's surprisingly effective. But that's not the really interesting part. The really interesting part is what happens when you take 47 different extinction-level technologies and get them to work together. The camera switched again, showing what appeared to be a human recreational facility. Children were playing in areas that Zal'thun recognized as former weapon testing sites. Adults were barbecuing using technology that could have powered small suns. In the background, he could see what looked like a Galactic Council dreadnought being used as a jungle gym. Computer? Zal'thun whispered. Are those children playing inside a quantum destabilizer field? Affirmative, Commander. They appear to be using it for some sort of ball game. Morrison's voice cut in from the side. That's our Granny Kowalski's idea. She figured out that quantum fields make excellent playgrounds. The kids love it. And it keeps the equipment from getting rusty. Granny Kowalski? Our strategic defense coordinator, 90 years old, bakes the best cookies in the galaxy, and has personally defeated more invasion fleets than the rest of the Galactic Defense Force combined. Would you like to meet her? Before Zal'thun could protest, the camera switched to show a small, elderly human woman wearing a floral apron and standing in what appeared to be a kitchen. Behind her, banks of monitors showed tactical displays that would have made Galactic Command jealous. Hello, dear Granny Kowalski said, looking directly at Zal'thun with the kind of smile that grandmothers reserve for grandchildren who are about to be fed entirely too much food. I've been watching your fleet, and I have to say, you boys look hungry. When was the last time you had a proper meal? Zal'thun stared at the screen in horror. She's offering to feed us? Granny's cooking is legendary, Morrison said proudly. Half the alien refugees in the system only stay for the Sunday dinners. Refugees? Oh yes, we've got quite a community now. Turns out when you treat invading aliens like guests instead of enemies, they tend to stick around. We've got former Zephyrian commandos running our waste management system, ex-Kalari bioweapons specialists working in our hospitals, and an entire Thraxian battle choir that does wedding entertainment. Zal'thun's communication officer looked up from his station, his expression confused. Commander, I'm receiving requests from 17 different ships. Their crews want to know if they can accept dinner invitations. Absolutely not. Zal'thun roared. We're here to exterminate this planet, not to socialize with the inhabitants. The silence that followed was deafening. When Morrison finally spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Commander, I think we need to have a little chat about what exactly you think is going to happen here. Zal'thun's attempt to retreat began exactly as these things always did, with complete confidence that he was making the right decision, followed immediately by the dawning realization that he had made a terrible mistake. All ships, prepare for immediate departure, he commanded. We're leaving this system. The response from his fleet was immediate and universally identical, sir. Our engines won't start. Zal'thun's blood pressure, which had been steadily climbing since his arrival in the Sol system, reached levels that would have been medically concerning if he hadn't been a member of a species that had evolved specifically to survive high-stress military situations. What do you mean? The engines won't start. His chief engineer's voice crackled through the communication system. Sir, it appears our engine systems have been improved. The humans have installed what they call friendship protocols in our navigation computers. We can't leave the system without completing what the computer calls a proper cultural exchange experience. Morrison's voice cut in, cheerful as ever. Sorry about that, Commander. It's really for your own safety. We've found that visitors who leave too quickly tend to have adjustment problems when they get home. What kind of adjustment problems? Well, let's just say that most species find it difficult to go back to their old way of life after they've experienced true hospitality. We've had several former invasion commanders request permanent residence permits. Dr. Vasquez appeared on the screen, practically vibrating with excitement. Commander, while we're here, would you mind if I asked you a few questions about your species' approach to faster-than-light travel? We've been working on some modifications to the basic design, and we'd love to get your professional opinion. Modifications? Zal'thun's voice was barely a whisper. Oh yes, we've managed to increase efficiency by about 400% and reduce the dimensional stress by half. Plus, we've added some comfort features that we think you'll really appreciate. Morrison nodded enthusiastically. Elena's been working on this project for years. We figure it's only fair to share our improvements with the folks who originally brought us the technology. You're giving us better faster-than-light drives? Of course. That's what neighbors do. They help each other out. Zal'thun stared at the screen, trying to process what he was hearing. We came here to exterminate your entire species. We know, Morrison said gently, and we appreciate the effort, we really do. But we've found that most of our visitors are much happier once they realize they don't have to exterminate us. There are so many more interesting things to do. Such as? Well, for starters, we'd love to nominate Earth for membership in the Galactic Council. We've been working on some proposals for galactic improvement that we think everyone will be excited about. The words hit Zal'thun like a physical blow. You want to join the Galactic Council? Absolutely. We've got so many ideas for making the galaxy a better place. Universal healthcare, improved transportation networks, better communication systems, and our personal favorite, a galaxy-wide anti-war initiative based on aggressive hospitality. Zal'thun's communication officer looked up from his station. Commander, I'm receiving a priority transmission from Galactic Command. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was that of Admiral Kex Thor, Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Force and Zal'thun's immediate superior. He sounded tired, defeated, and more than a little drunk. Zal'thun, you magnificent fool, please tell me you haven't made contact with the humans yet. I'm afraid I have, sir. And how's that going for you? Zal'thun looked around his bridge. Half his crew was watching human entertainment broadcasts. The other half was engaged in what appeared to be a lively discussion about Earth's technological innovations with their human counterparts. His chief engineer was sketching improvements to the ship's life support systems based on suggestions from a human child. Sir, Zal'thun said slowly, I'd like to formally request permission to surrender. Permission granted. Try not to enjoy it too much. 6 months later, the Galactic Council's emergency session was called to order with all the enthusiasm of a funeral planning committee. Ambassador Vrex Talk, who had somehow managed to survive the political fallout from the Earth situation, called for attention with his ceremonial gavel. Honored colleagues, he began, his voice carrying the weight of impending doom, we are here to formally recognize Earth's application for membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber was filled with the kind of silence usually reserved for moments of profound cosmic significance, or really awkward family dinners. Captain Jake Morrison, now styled as Ambassador Morrison, stood at the podium wearing what appeared to be a formal version of his cargo pilot uniform. Behind him, Dr. Vasquez was setting up a holographic display with the enthusiasm of someone about to present the galaxy's most elaborate science fair project. Thank you, honored delegates, Morrison said, his voice carrying the same casual friendliness that had become Earth's trademark. We're absolutely thrilled to be here, and we've brought some modest proposals for galactic improvement that we think everyone will be excited about. The word modest sent a shiver of pure terror through the assembled delegates. In the 6 months since Earth's first contact with the current Galactic Council, the human definition of modest had proven to be somewhat different from everyone else's. First, Morrison continued, We'd like to propose a galaxy-wide infrastructure improvement program. We've identified several key areas where we can make significant improvements to quality of life across all member species. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional map of the entire galaxy. Slowly, streams of light began connecting various star systems, forming a network of impossible complexity and beauty. "This is our proposed Galactic Friendship Network," Dr. Vasquez said, her voice bubbling with excitement. "It's based on the communication and transportation technologies we've developed from studying the wreckage of, the generous technological gifts we've received from our many visitors over the years." Counselor Yex MPH raised a tentative tentacle. "And this network would do what, exactly?" "Oh, everything," Dr. Vasquez replied. "Instantaneous communication across any distance, matter transportation, universal language translation, and our personal favorite, real-time cultural exchange broadcasting." The implications of this hit the Council like a meteor hitting a planet. Universal communication meant that Earth's particular brand of aggressive friendliness could be broadcast directly to every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. "Second," Morrison continued, seemingly oblivious to the growing panic in the chamber, "we'd like to establish a galactic hospitality corps. We've found that most interspecies conflicts can be resolved through the proper application of home cooking and genuine interest in other cultures." Ambassador Click Tar from the Zephyrian Collective, who had been remarkably quiet since his species' former invasion fleet had become part of Earth's waste management system, finally spoke up. "And if we, hypothetically speaking, were to reject these proposals?" Morrison's smile was warm, genuine, and absolutely terrifying. "Oh, that's perfectly fine. We completely understand that change can be difficult. That's why we've already implemented a trial version of the Friendship Network throughout the Outer Rim territories." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates were frantically accessing their communication systems, trying to contact their home worlds. The responses they received were universally identical. Their populations had been exposed to human culture for the past 3 months and were now demanding better health care, with improved education systems, and something called weekend barbecue traditions. Rex Talk's voice rose above the din. This is cultural contamination on a galactic scale." "We prefer to think of it as cultural enhancement," Morrison replied cheerfully. "But don't worry, we've got plenty of experience helping species adjust to improved living conditions. Ask anyone from the Outer Rim territories. They're absolutely delighted with the changes." In the back of the chamber, Commander Zal'thun sat quietly, observing the proceedings with the kind of philosophical acceptance that came from having one's entire worldview systematically dismantled by aggressive hospitality. Next to him, Granny Kowalski was knitting what appeared to be a sweater while simultaneously monitoring 17 different tactical displays. "Zal'thun, dear," she said quietly, "would you mind passing me that blue yarn? I'm making a sweater for Admiral Kex Thor. The poor man looked cold during our last video call." Zal'thun handed her the yarn without comment. In the 6 months since his surrender, he had learned that resistance to human kindness was not only futile, it was actually counterproductive. His own crew had never been happier, his ships had never run better, and his strategic reports had never been more thorough. Morrison was concluding his presentation with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for small children announcing successful potty training. "And finally, we'd like to propose a new tourism initiative for the galaxy. We're calling it Come for the Destruction, Stay for the Hospitality." The holographic display showed a promotional video featuring testimonials from former invasion commanders, all of whom were now permanent residents of the Sol system and appeared to be genuinely happy about it. "It's quite catchy," Rex Talk admitted reluctantly. "But what makes you think we'll approve any of these proposals?" Morrison's grin widened. "Well, that's the beautiful thing about democracy. You get to vote on it." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Granny Kowalski's knitting needles and the distant hum of the Galactic Friendship Network, which had apparently been broadcasting this entire meeting to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "All in favor?" Morrison asked cheerfully. The vote was unanimous. Not because the delegates wanted to approve Earth's proposals, but because their constituents had been watching the broadcast and had already begun demanding that their representatives support the nice humans with all the good ideas. As the session adjourned, Vrextalk approached Morrison with the expression of someone who had just realized that his entire species' understanding of galactic politics had been fundamentally wrong. "You know," he said quietly, "we always thought Earth was humanity's prison. That you were trapped there by your own primitive technology." Morrison nodded thoughtfully. "That's a common misconception. Earth was never our prison, Ambassador. It was our training ground. We've been preparing for this moment for 1,000 years." "Preparing for what?" Morrison's smile was warm, genuine, and absolutely unstoppable. "It's to make the galaxy a better place, whether it wants to be or not." As the delegates filed out of the chamber, each carrying complimentary care packages prepared by Granny Kowalski, the galaxy's newest member species settled in to begin the most ambitious cultural exchange program in galactic history. Earth hadn't just refused to die. It had become the galaxy's conscience, its mother, and its most enthusiastic next-door neighbor, all rolled into one aggressively hospitable package. And there wasn't a single thing anyone could do about it except enjoy the cookies.